Okay, good morning, all of you. Please put your attendance, your roll number in the chat box. Okay, I will start here. Okay, I will, in first, I will, wait. Okay, one more instruction is there. After entering your roll number in the chat box, don't leave the meeting or don't leave the session. Okay, okay, this is now today we are going to start the second chapter. And this name of the chapter is the processing of the plastics. Okay, this is the second chapter, processing of the plastics. Okay, okay, I have corrected it. Name of the chapter is processing of plastic materials or processing of the plastics. Okay, now this is the actual syllabus content. In this chapter, we are going to uh, or we are going to learn the different processing methods which we are going to use for the converting the raw plastic material into the desired component having desired shape and size or desired surface finish. Okay, in this first point, this is the syllabus content. Okay, in this we are going to see the different different plastic manufacturing processes. You can simply say that processing is nothing but manufacturing of the plastic material or plastic from plastic raw material. We are going to manufacture the our actual plastic components, and for that we are going to use different methods like injection molding, extrusion molding, then sheet forming processes. Okay, in this sheet forming processes, this calendaring is nothing but the sheet forming process. Okay, this is nothing but a sheet forming process. Then blow molding, and then the processing of the thermostatic plastic materials. In that we are going to use these three methods: this compression, molding, transfer molding, and rotational molding. Okay, this is the syllabus content. These methods we are going to discuss in this chapter. And for better understanding of this chapter, some prerequisites are required. Okay, these are the prerequisites. Means to understand this chapter in a better way, you should have the basic knowledge related to the engineering chemistry and the polymers. Polymers is nothing but you can say that the introduction to the plastic. Already we have covered that in the first chapter. Okay, you should be able to understand the different plastic materials, there's the classification and what exactly meaning of the plastic materials, then how these plastic materials are formed. That means this we have covered in the first chapter already, introduction to the plastics. And after this you required some basic knowledge related to the manufacturing processes. Whichever manufacturing processes are there, I think this you have studied in your second year's manufacturing process subject. In that you have studied different manufacturing methods starting from the casting, then the different welding processes also you have studied in that. Okay, that part is also needed in our next chapter. Okay, different welding processes means here what you have, you should aware about the basic manufacturing processes. Then so we will go through some important points, like the this is the first point, that is the title of the chapter. Now, as from the title of the chapter, this is the processing of the plastic. Okay, what it means, processing of the plastic. Processing is nothing but, okay, what is the meaning of the processing? Processing is subjecting something to a series of action in order to achieve a particular result. That is the term processing. Okay, means something we are going to take, and on that we are performing the series of action to achieve the particular result. That is termed as the processing. Now here we are going to do the processing of the plastics. Okay, processing of the plastic is nothing but I have highlighted that in the second point. The plastic processing uses a large amount of energy to heat the raw materials and to form these into the products. In short, you can say that whichever plastic raw material is available, that plastic raw material we are going to convert into the desired product by following the certain stages or steps. This entire process will be termed as processing of the plastics. Okay, from plastic raw material, converting plastic raw material to the means useful product by following the certain stages, that will be termed as processing of the plastics. Okay, and during this plastic, what we are going to do, we are going to use the energy to heat that raw material. Okay, and at the end you have to also do the cooling to get the desired product. Okay, this is, and this I have highlighted in this third point. We also need to remove the heat to solidify that plastic component and to complete the process. That stage is termed as the cooling process. Okay, so this is the processing of the plastics. Then the central idea of the chapter. The central idea of this chapter is nothing but what exactly we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay. Now, in this chapter, we are going to discuss. Already, I have told you that means the different methods to convert the available raw material to obtain the useful plastic components. And to do that, depending on the properties of the material or depending on the type of the material, different methods can be used. And that different methods are nothing but, in this chapter we are going to discuss the concept of different plastic processing methods like injection molding, extrusion molding, compression molding, then blow molding, transfer molding, rotational molding, and some sheet forming processes like calendaring. That also we are going to discuss in this chapter. Okay, this is the central idea. What we are going to study in this chapter? We are going to study the different plastic processing methods, and in that, these types we are going to cover. Then, what is the importance of this chapter? Okay, why the study of this chapter is important? Because if you studied this chapter, you will be able to understand which processing method or which manufacturing method you are going to select for a particular product or available raw material to give the desired shape and size to obtain the desired product. Okay, that's why this chapter is very important. Okay, you will be able to understand for which plastic material which manufacturing processes can be used, or which processing method can be used, and which kind of shape can be given. Okay, for different available raw materials that we are going to discuss in this chapter. This is the importance of this chapter. At the end, you can easily do it. Then what will be the outcome of the chapter? Outcome, you can say that, in other words, this is nothing but our objective. At the After studying this chapter, at the end of this chapter, you will be able to understand the characteristics and classification of plastic manufacturing processes. Okay, plastic manufacturing processes is nothing but plastic processing methods, you can say that. Here you will be able to understand its classification, and for each type you will be able to understand what is its exact characteristics. For each method, it is having certain specific characteristics that you will be able to understand at the end of this chapter. Then the second outcome of this chapter is, you will be that after studying this chapter, you will be able to select the suitable method of manufacturing for a particular plastic component. Okay, depending on the desired component, you will be able to select the suitable method. Okay, suppose you want to manufacture a plastic bottle, then at the end you will be able to understand which method you have to select for that manufacturing of that plastic bottle. Suppose you want to manufacture the plastic chair, then at the end of this chapter you will be able to understand by which method you can achieve that product. Okay, So this will be the outcome. Then we will move towards the actual part or actual syllabus content of this second chapter, the processing of the plastics. Already I have discussed this. What is the meaning of a processing of the plastics here? The first point we are going to understand, or we will try to learn what is the meaning of processing of the plastics and classification of processing methods. Okay. Now, this already I have explained. The plastic processing, okay, you can define it as a process of converting the plastics raw materials into semi-finished product or finished product. You can say that. That will be termed as the processing of the plastics. Okay. The process of converting the available plastic raw material into semi-finished or finished product, that will be termed as the processing of the plastics. And here you can write the number of examples, means direct components here. We can manufacture different plastic buckets and different automobile components or different automobile parts, then crates, different plastic tanks, plastic pipes, and different plastic bottles, then carry bags, ropes, different profiles you can manufacture with the help of this by processing of the plastic. Then different kinds of the toys you can manufacture, or these are the few applications I have collected. By processing of the plastics, you can obtain these products. Okay, then the next point is classification of the processing methods. Now, these processing methods are classified in three types: primary processing methods, then secondary processing methods, and tertiary processing methods. Okay, now, in the primary processing methods, these four types will be there in the primary processing methods: injection molding, extrusion molding. Sorry, five types will be there: injection, extrusion, blow molding, then compression molding, and transfer molding. Uh, so this will be the primary processing methods. Largely, we are applying these methods only to these five methods will be applied uh, in the large extent to convert the available raw material into the desired product by following certain steps. That's these are largely used. That's why these are categorized in the primary processing methods. Then secondary processing methods will be rotational molding and thermoforming processes. Then coating, casting, fabrications, calendaring. These are the secondary processing methods. Or under this, these are used for some specific applications only. That's why, or specific products only. That's why these will come under the secondary processing methods. And the third type of the processing method will be tertiary processing methods. Okay, in this we are going to do these tertiary processing methods are nothing but some extra operations we are performing according to our need on that particular finish manufactured component. Like suppose we are performing some cutting operation, then cutting, drilling, welding, then bending. These will come in the tertiary processing methods. Okay, so these are the three types of the processing methods. Primary processing methods, in that five types will be there: injection molding, then extrusion molding, blow molding, compression molding, and transfer molding. Then the second type is secondary processing methods. In that, certain means these are nothing some specific operations we are performing depending on the need. But depending on our need, we are using this specific methods for manufacturing of that particular component, plastic material or component. And in this rotational molding will be there, then thermoforming process will be there, and coating, casting, fabrication, and calendaring. And last is the tertiary processing method. In this tertiary, some specific operations will be there. Okay, the secondary will be for manufacturing specific products, and this tertiary will be for performing certain operations on the already manufactured component. In this cutting, drilling, welding, bending will be there. Okay, so after this, the Next, in this processing of the plastics, okay, this is the next slide. This is the processing of the plastics. Now here again you will thought that I'm repeating it again and again. Now here I have used two different colors to highlight these methods. Okay, these are the processing methods for which we are going to use for doing the processing of the plastic materials. In short, you can say that these are the manufacturing methods also. Now here the whichever first four methods I have highlighted in the green color, you can say that these injection molding, extrusion molding, blow molding, and calendaring. These four methods are generally we are using for the thermoplastic materials. These four methods are used generally used for thermoplastic materials. Sometimes you can use for thermosetting materials also, but generally or maximum times we are using these four methods for processing of the thermoplastic materials. Okay, injection molding, extrusion molding, blow molding, and calendering. These four methods are used for doing the processing of the thermoplastics materials. Okay, thermoplastic materials like you can say that polyethylene, polypropylene, nylon, on that materials you can use the in these four methods. And this compression molding, transfer molding, and rotational molding, these three methods are used for doing the processing of the thermosetting materials. Okay. So if you have understood this part, shall I move towards the next slide? And I will move towards the next slide. Okay. Depending on the material, these four will be used for generally used for thermoplastic materials, and these three methods, compression, transfer, and rotational molding, these three methods will be used for processing of the thermosetting materials. Like you can say that urea formaldehyde, melamine formaldehyde, or epoxies. For that, you can use this three methods, and for nylons, or you can say that PVC materials, you can use these four methods like injection, extrusion, and blow molding and calendering. And after this, we will move brief study one by one. We will see all these processes along with their subtypes. We will go into what is the basic principle used, then its application, certain advantages, disadvantages, and if any subtype is there. All this we are going to discuss in this chapter. Now we will first start the injection molding process. Okay, injection molding process for doing the processing of this plastic material. Okay, now in this injection molding process, here this is the basic concept I have mentioned in 2 3 points here. Okay, in the injection molding process, it is a method to obtain the molded product by injecting the plastic materials by injecting the plastic material and molten it by heat into a mold, and then cooling and solidifying them. Okay. Now this method is useful for the mass production. Generally, this method is used for mass production of the complicated components, or components having complicated shapes. Okay. Now here two types or two principles will be used. One will be the ram type injection molding, and second is the screw type injection molding. Okay, these two types will be there. I will explain it with the help of the two different diagrams. I have collected two different diagrams here, and this is using the this is, you can say that, the ram type injection molding process, and this is the screw type injection molding process. But before starting this, I will explain what these point is saying, means how this injection molding is performed. Okay, I will explain it. In the injection molding process, the whichever raw material is there, we are going to pour that raw material in this hopper, with the help of this hopper, we are going to pour it in the one chamber. This may be made up of the steel. Generally, it is made up of the steel. This in this steel chamber, we are pouring the available raw material. Okay, available plastic raw material we are pouring with the help of hopper into this steel chamber, and it will enter in this chamber where it consists of a screw. Okay, it consists of a, you can say that here one screw is here, and this chamber is now heated. Okay, in the initial stage, and we have poured it in the chamber, and here we are providing the heat. Okay, here we are providing the heat. Due to that heating, that plastic raw material will be melted. Okay, here we are providing the heat, and due to the rotation of this screw, what will happen, whichever melted part is there, melted plastic material, it will forced back. It will forced back, not in the forward direction. Okay, it will be forced back, and it will be collected here. Okay, whichever molded plastic material is there, it will be collected here. Initially, we are pouring the raw material, then it is heated in this chamber and it is melted, and that melted plastic raw material is collected here. And after sufficient amount of collection, then with the help of this ram, okay, here we are having certain hydraulic fluid. With the help of this hydraulic fluid, we are going to apply the pressure. Then with the help of this ram arrangement, we are going to do the ejection. Okay, injection is done here. Injection process is done, and with the help of that, the force is applied with the help of that ram, and that melted plastic raw material is injected into the mold. Injected into the mold, and after that, we are performing the cooling operation, and after sufficient amount of cooling, that product material, that melted raw material will get solidified, and it is removed by the injection method. Okay, don't get confused between the injection and ejection. Injection means we are inserting that melted raw material into the mold cavity. It is the injection, and ejection means we are removing the manufactured component or final product from that mold cavity. Okay, so in this way, this injection molding is performed. Okay, this method is shortly explained in few sentences here. Okay, injection molding is a method to obtain molded product by injecting plastic material molten by heat into a mold. Okay, plastic material we are here converting it into the molten form by providing the heat, and that we are injecting into the mold, and then cooling it for sufficient period of time. Due to the cooling, it will get solidified, and after that injected, it is injected from that mold to obtain the final product. Now this injection molding is suitable for mass production. Okay, this method, you can say that it is very highly used for the, okay, I will make it as a separate point here. This method is suitable for the mass production of the product components having complicated shapes. Okay. Now this injection method is classified in two types: ram type and screw type. Okay. Now what is the difference between ram type and screw type? Whichever arrangement already I have explained here. This is the ram type, means for doing the injection operation here. For doing the injection of this molted material into the cavity, we are using the ram type arrangement here. Ram type arrangement, with the help of hydraulic fluid, we are applying the force, and in the screw type, there will be one reciprocating screw. One reciprocating screw will be there directly to perform the injection operation. directly we are using the reciprocating screw. Okay, there will be one screw. One screw will be there, and with the help of that screw only we are forcing that mold melted plastic raw material into the mold cavity. Okay, reciprocating screw will be there, and with the help of reciprocating screw we are applying the force on the melted plastic raw material, and it is injected into the mold cavity. So this is the screw type, you can say that screw type injection molding. And in the ram type injection molding, here we are using the certain ram will be there. Just like a cylinder piston arrangement, it will be very similar to the cylinder piston arrangement. Okay, when the ram is there, and with the hydraulic, with the help of hydraulic fluid, we are applying the pressure on it so that that melted plastic material will get injected into the mold cavity. Okay, depending on the arrangement used, it is termed as a ram type. And when you are using a reciprocating screw to apply the force or required pressure, then it is termed as the screw type. Okay, it is termed as screw type. So in this way, these are the you can say that two different principles we are using here: ram type and screw type. So after this, okay, I will wait for a few minutes here. Please draw this diagram so that you will be able to understand the injection molding process. This is the basic principle of the injection molding process. Please draw this diagram. I will wait for a few minutes here. After that, I will continue with the different stages in the injection molding process, along with the some applications, or you can say that some different components which can be manufactured or which are manufactured with the help of this injection molding process. And the one more instruction is that those who have joined late, please mention your roll numbers in the chat box for collecting the attendance. Okay, I will check whether students are here only or not. Rahul Jundare, are you there? Rahul, are you there? Rahul Jundare.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Who is giving reply? I thought it is from another. Okay. Suraj Gaikwad, are you there? Suraj Gaikwad, please complete the drawing. If you are able to remember this drawing only, you can explain the whole process. Okay. Just you have to remember the diagram. Suraj Gaikwad, are you there? Just you have joined the meeting and you are doing your other works. Suraj Gaikwad, roll number 17. Next diagram, please draw this diagram. Okay, if you have completed this drawing, we will move towards the stages involved in the injection molding process. Okay, almost I have explained it, but stepwise I will again repeat this part. Okay, okay, I have provided sufficient time to draw this diagram. Okay, next slide. I will go to the next slide and again I will explain it with the help of this diagram only. Okay, now these are the stages or steps in the manufacturing of a component using its plastic raw material uh, with the help of the injection molding. Four steps will be there. Okay, you have to follow the four steps. And then the first step is the clamping. Then next is the injection, cooling, and ejection. Okay, this is injection and this is ejection. Injection means we are forcing some material into one cavity. That is the injection. And ejection means we are removing that component from the cavity. These two operations are exactly reverse. Okay, I will explain it one by one. The first stage in the injection molding process is clamping, then injection, cooling, and ejection. Okay, one by one, I will explain it with the help of these two diagrams. Okay, now where clamping is necessary before actually starting this process. Here you have to understand that whichever here we are use the you going to use the clamping. Okay, here I have highlighted in this diagram. Here we required the clamping. Now why clamping is required here? Because this mold, whichever mold is there, here you can see this mold. Here this mold is present in the uh, two parts. Okay, one part is the movable part, or it is a movable plate. Here I have named it movable plate. And another is the fixed part. Okay, whichever part of this mold, okay, this is the total mold, this is the mold, whichever part of the mold is attached to the nozzle, whichever part, here please see the movement of the cursor, whichever part of the mold is attached to the nozzle, it is the fixed part. And another part, remaining part, is the movable part, or it is a termed as the movable plate. Okay, now while performing the operation, to keep this in the fixed position, you have to use the clamping. Okay, clamping must be there. Now whenever component size is very small, simple clamps you can arrange here, or you have to provide simple clamps. And if suppose larger sized mold is there, then you have to use certain hydraulic arrangement or pneumatic arrangement to provide the proper support here. Okay, so this is the first is the clamping. Before starting the injection molding process, you have to provide the clamping. Why clamping is necessary? Because the mold present is present in the two parts or two halls, you can say that. The first is one is the fixed and another is the movable. And to keep them together, we required to provide some clamping. And when the mold size is small, the simple clamping is required. And when mold size is large, you have to provide some hydraulic or pneumatic arrangement or mechanism there. Okay, after this clamping, the second stage is the injection method. Now in this injection method, after providing the clamping, we will move towards the injection. Now in this injection method, with the help of this hopper, we are going to pour the available plastic raw material into this cavity, or you can say that this steel chamber. We are going to pour the plastic raw material, and it will come in this chamber. Okay, in this chamber it will come, or you can say that this is a barrel also, you can say that this is the barrel. Here that plastic material will be poured, and now this will be heated. Okay, one heating arrangement will be there. With the help of this heating arrangement or heaters, that poured plastic raw material will be melted. It will be melted. Now it will be melted, and one screw will be there. Due to the rotation of the screw, whichever melted plastic raw material is there, it will be forced back. Okay, it will be collected at the back side. Okay, it will be forced back, and with the help of the now depending on the nature, the instrument or source you have used to apply the pressure. Here two types of the injections will be there. Okay, already I have explained that principle. If you have applied the force, or if you have used the ram type for doing the injection of the melted plastic material into the mold cavity through the nozzle, then it will be ram type. Okay, this is the ram type. And if you have used one screw arrangement, with the help of the reciprocating screw, if you have applied the required force to inject this mm, melted plastic raw material into the mold cavity with the help of this nozzle, then that will be screw type. Okay, screw type injection molding. So this is the injection operation. Here force will be applied, and through the nozzle it will be forced or injected into the mold cavity. Now the third stage, the first is clamping, then injection. After that, in the third stage, we are going to cool that mold cavity with the help of the water. Okay, now with the help of the water, that component, or you can say that the mold cavity is cooled, and due to generally this cooling is done with the help of the water only. And due to the cooling, here final shape and size, or means that a molten plastic material will acquire the desired shape and size due to the cooling with the help of the water. This is the third stage, that is the cooling. And the final stage is nothing but the um, ejection. Okay, now ejection will be there. Whichever this colored part is, this is your final, this is the mold cavity. Now this is the movable part. You have to remove this movable part. Now whichever component is manufactured from this mold cavity, it is ejected. Okay, it is ejected with the help of one ejector mechanism. One ejector mechanism is used. With the help of that ejector mechanism, we are going to remove that manufactured component from the mold cavity. Okay, first you have to remove the movable mold part, and after that, with the help of ejector mechanism, we are going to eject that component manufactured part from the mold cavity. Okay, now you have to take the proper care that component should not get damaged here. Okay, so after doing the injection from the mold cavity, this we will obtain the final product. Okay, in this way, in the four stages, injection molding is performed. First is the clamping. Okay, initially clamping you have to do, then injection, then cooling and ejection. Okay, with the ejector mechanism. Now this full process time, this is the one cycle from clamping. When you followed these four stages, clamping, injection, cooling and ejection, one cycle will be completed. Okay, one processing cycle is completed for injection molding. Generally this will take uh, few seconds, from 2 seconds to 60 seconds. Within a minute, one processing cycle will be completed. It is having very minimum processing time. That's why this process is used for doing the mass production. It is used for doing the mass production. And certain types of defects may be there in the finished components. Okay, and that's why it is required certain practice to avoid certain defects like flash, bubbles, or ejector marks will be there, or unfilled sections may be there. Okay, some types of defects may be there, and it can be eliminated by the certain practice also, or implementing the standard norms. Okay, you can eliminate these kind of defects also. Now, the material generally, which material is used for doing this injection molding operation, we are generally using the ABS material, acrylonitrile butadiene styrene. Then polyamide materials, in short you can say that the nylons, ABS, nylons, PVC, that is polyvinyl chloride, then acrylics. Okay, these different materials you can use for performing the injection molding operation. Okay, now this injection molding operations applications. So these are the some general application. These are the plastic components which are manufactured by injection molding process. Here, different aerospace components can be manufactured. Then different automobile components can be manufactured. Then different cable assemblies, computer, electronic devices or electronic components. Then medical products. Then medical, it can be used in the medical laboratories. Okay, different kinds of the toys. Then it can be helpful in the R&D department. Okay, or different kinds of the marketing samples or test specimen. All these can be manufactured with the help of this plastic injection molding process. Okay, these different kinds of products can be manufactured with the injection molding process only. Okay, so this is the injection molding process. Now this injection molding process, it has certain advantages and certain disadvantages. After seeing the application, we have tried to learn what is the injection molding process here. Okay, I will explain first advantages and few disadvantages. What are the advantages here? This method is having very, you can say that the processing time is very less, from 2 seconds to 60 seconds processing time. That's why rate of production is very high. Then the close dimensional accuracy can be obtained. Okay, processing time is very less, that's why it is having higher production rate. Then accurate dimension can be obtained. Then wastage of the raw material is a very minimum, or it is very less. Wastage will be less. And then complex components can also be manufactured. The complex shaped components or complicated shaped components you can easily manufacture here. So these are the advantages: very less processing time, then higher production rate, you can say that, accurate dimension can be obtained, minimum wastage of the material. And the next is the means complex shaped components can also be manufactured here. And what are the disadvantages of this injection molding processes? This whichever setup is there, okay, just related to the cost, whichever setup is there, or whichever tooling cost or setup cost is very high. Okay, very high tooling cost or setup cost is very high. And sometimes may defects like undercuts or unfilled section or ejector marks, some kind of defects may be there. This you can write in the disadvantages. First disadvantage is its tooling cost or its setup cost is very high, and some kind of defect may occur like undercuts. Okay, so this is the in this way we have completed this injection molding process. Okay, in this injection molding process, in this processing of the plastics, we have started this injection molding process. In this, we have learned what is the basic principle used in the injection molding process. What are the two basic principles we are going to use here? In that, ram type injection molding and screw type injection molding will be there. Then we have learned the different stages involved in the injection molding, like clamping, injection, cooling, and ejection. Then with the help of this diagram, we have understood the different stages like clamping, injection, then cooling will occur here only. And after that, with the help of ejector mechanism, ejection of that component is done. Okay, this is the screw type injection molding. This is a ram type injection molding. And after seeing these stages, the different applications, different these are the applications. And after this, we have learned the advantages and disadvantages. Advantages will be less time, very high dimensional accuracy, minimum wastage, and complex shape can be manufactured. And disadvantage is only related to the cost and some kind of defects may be there like undercut. Okay. So in this way, we have completed this injection molding process. If you are having any difficulty, you can put that in the chat box. I will wait for a few minutes. If you are not having any difficulty, I will stop this session here only. Please put your difficulties in the chat box. If you are not having any difficulty, I will stop this session here only. Thank you for attending this session.